Hi folks, Jason here and welcome to another video tutorial. Today is a bit special. We're diving into a two-part series where we'll be building a Resident Evil inspired side-scroller environment from the ground up. Part 1, we're revisiting the power of trim sheets. We'll be using them to efficiently model out heavy lifting walls, rusted pipes, conduits, AC vents, and stairs. But unlike our previous workshops, we're going deeper. We'll be modeling specific props and exploring atmospheric lighting to really capture the survival horror mood. This is a unique opportunity for you to create a proof of concept for your own ideas. Whether you're aiming for 2.5D or a full 3D, you'll see how to apply your own artwork to high quality 3D assets. Okay, so let's get into it. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this out. And I'm going to start another project. Just go general, and we'll need to delete the cube as usual. So I'm going to go and hit delete. And then we're ready to start building our scene. So I'm going to go into the front orthographic view. I'm going to go and create a plane, and I'm going to go R, X, and 90. Enter. I'm going to enlarge this a little bit, scale it up. And in order for it to match the actual scene, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some reference. So staying in the orthographic view, I'm going to go Shift and A. I'm going to go through to the image and reference. I'm going to go and find my folder, which is here, and I'm going to bring in the actual trim sheet. So this is going to act as a kind of reference for the scene, just so I know where I'm working. It particularly come in handy when I'm doing things like the pipes. So I'm just going to go and scale that up. And let's just set that back a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, concentrate on the wall. And we're going to be doing a little bit of modeling, and then we're going to use the array modifier. So first of all, I'm going to attach that to this, the image. So I'm going to go through to the material, go new, then click on where it says base color, go to image texture, and then go and open the file, which is there, trim sheet, and go open. Can't see anything at the moment, so I'll go through into the material preview. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut this in half. So I'm going to go and hit Tab, and I'm going to go Control and R, and we'll drop a line in an edge loop, say somewhere like that. And once I've done that, I'm going to go and hit 3 for face, and I'm going to go and delete that. Delete faces. Okay. Now, just so we're totally set up, what we're going to need to do is when we do the edge loops, you'll find, if I just do a demonstration now for you, if I go and Control and say R and click on that there, when I move this around now, you'll see it's distorting the actual trim sheet. We don't want that. So what we'll need to do is we need to go to the top here where it says Options, and then click on where it says Correct Face Attributes. And now, when we move this around, you'll see it's not distorting it. And I'm going to use my mouse for this next part because it's quite useful. What we can do is, for these dividing sections here, I can go Control and R, and then what I can do is, using the middle mouse, I can actually start to scroll forward. And you'll see that it creates lots of other subdivisions. So assuming that I've got, where are we? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. There's about 18 lines that I've got to create, more or less. And then what we can do from there is we can sort of put them in place. So I'll start with this one first. Just going to go Shift, and this will probably be good just to kind of zoom in a little bit so you can actually get the lines lined up with the where the panels are. So I'll probably just speed this part of the video up. Okay, so once you've got that done, we can now put some subdivisions here. And then we've just got one at the bottom. Okay, I think that covers it. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to bring this section forward. I'm going to do that by just going into the orthographic view. I'm going to press 3 so I can select all of the faces. And I'll just deselect this top, holding down Control. And it's really simple. It's just E and then Y to bring that forward. And then we're going to bring these other panels forward. So what I'm going to do here is select all of the faces from these parts, like so. And then it'll be the same again. So E and then Y, not too much, just a little bit. It's just so if I go into object view now, you can sort of see we've got some, a bit of geometry there that looks pretty good. Now you might see a little bit of like stretching going on here if I go there. This can be remedied quite easily. So we could go and select all of these faces like so. And then from there, go to the top of the graphic view. We can go U, and then what we can do is go U, project from view. Now, if we go into the UV editing, you'll see there now that if I just widen that a little bit, you can see there now they're all kind of in a line. And this is where you'll have to have a bit of a play. Again, I'll probably just speed this part of the video up. But essentially, if you want to kind of get it aligned, you can do a side-by-side comparison with your panels and begin to position. So there we go. So again, you can have a play around with that. I've just kind of matched them up as best as I can for now. And of course, you can take your time with it. Okay, so moving on to the next part, which is the array modifier. So how this works is we're going to select the object and we're going to go into this little wrench symbol here called modifiers, add modifier, generate, and then click on where it says array. Now, depending on like your how your blender's set up, this has sort of done it automatically for me. But you'll see here, I'll just demonstrate. We've got 3 counts. So it's done 3 counts for me automatically, which is fortunate. But you may find that yours is like maybe slightly out. Maybe it's kind of like that. Or maybe even it's just sort of set at 2, like so. So you'd have to kind of have a bit of a play with it and get it aligned. But essentially, you'd be looking to get it aligned on the X, Y, and Z axes, just so it's kind of, it's in the sort of correct alignment. You might want to kind of have a bit of a play around as well. I can see there's a little bit of a division there, but it's not enough to be of concern. But once you've kind of got like the first one aligned, then you can do the counts, and the counts basically will just keep going and going. So you could create this like huge corridor if you wanted to. For ours, we're just going to do something like say that, maybe even just 3. And that's good enough for me. And then in order to kind of to seal the deal, you go to the top arrow here and you go and apply. So really simple. And now I've got a wall. You've got other things like this. You've got some repeating patterns here. But when it's kind of lit and we've got some pipes in here, it's probably not going to factor too much. Now we're going to concentrate on the floor. The floor is essentially, or the corridor floor is essentially going to be the same deal as the wall. So I'm going to create a plane. So I'm going to go Shift and A, Mesh and Plane. And then I'm going to keep this on the ground. We're going to enlarge it. I'm going to go scale it up. And remembering to bring in the reference as well, just so we can see it. And then I'm going to go and bring in the Resident Evil floor, which is here. Go and add that. And again, it's just so we've got it as reference. I'll just go and rotate that. Might just start this bit again, actually. Start this bit again. So I started from the plane. Okay, we've got that there. And just so we can be accurate, I'm going to bring in the reference. So I'm going to go into orthographic view. I'm going to go Shift and A, image and reference, and go and find the panel, which is here. And then go add, and just scale that maybe a wee bit. And I'm just going to send that back just so we know. So it's effectively square. So I'm going to keep the plane as it is. So just like before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Material, New, and on Base Color, I'm going to click on that, Image Texture, and then go and find the image of the floor, which is here, and then go Open. And there we are. There's our floor. Now for this one, I'm not going to put any subdivisions in. We can certainly put the normal on there, which we're going to do, but I'm going to keep this relatively flat. But just like before, I'm going to position it like so. Now maybe what we'll do is we'll perhaps make this a little bit narrower. Maybe something like that. Position it next to the wall. Something like that. And then just like before, we're going to use the array modifier on it. So again, go to the little spanner symbol there. Generate array. There we go. So we can maybe extend that slightly beyond, or however you feel. Take that to around about there, because what we're going to do is create some steps going down from there. So I'm going to go and back to the Edit tab, and we're just going to site this by eye. So I'm going to, we can even do it from an angle. So I'm going to go E and then Z or Z. E and then X, E and Z, E and X. It could even be something like that. So just a few steps down. So we're going to got that. And also you see there's a bit of stretching going on. Just like before, what we can do is we could maybe set that to, if I go U and do something like, could do angle base. Again, you can kind of have a play around with it. Let's go unwrap and see what that looks like there. Just go and select. So you can see there now, we can have a play with those faces and just move them accordingly so they're in line, you know, pretty much more or less. So there, let's go with something like that. And again, you can have a play around with it. And that's generally looking all right. Okay, another part that we need to complete is, you will see here that the wall only kind of goes so far. Now, it's not massively important, but it'd be nice to kind of at least extend it down these steps. So I'm going to go back to the layout, and what we're going to do here is I'm just going to essentially copy a little bit of this wall here and bring it down sort of below the steps, and also extend this wall a little bit. So not massively sophisticated. Essentially what we're going to do is this. I'm going to make sure that I'm on X-ray. And what we can do is we can, first of all, probably take away part of this edge, because we're going to copy mainly this part here. Or indeed, what we're going to do actually is we're going to copy specifically this part. If I could just grab it, something like this. And then essentially what we're going to do is go Shift D. So I'm just going to turn on my, make sure that it's on. I think it is on. Shift D, and then right click, and then take it all the way down to the bottom. So basically we're just going to align it. Now this is still part of this model, But what we're doing is we're sort of cheating a little bit, and we're not really, we're not, what's the word? We're not extruding. We're just simply moving part of this geometry down, copying it and then moving it down. I think that's generally looking okay. That we could go something like that. So if we actually come out of that now, if I go like that, you'll see there now it's extended down. It's all part of the one object. Now we do have this issue though. It's mapping part of the trim sheet that we don't want. It's a really quick fix for this. I'll just go back to there, and it'll mean going back into the UV editing, and you'll see they should see the part highlighted there. All we need to do is shift it up just so it's mimicking that part of the texture. So I'm just going to go and move those UVs up to there. Nice and simple. So if I zoom in now, if I just go into object mode, you'll see there now. That's done it quite nicely. All right. And then if you want to, we can extend this a little bit more across the way. Same principle as before. What we do is we go and just select, say, part of that panel there. Shift D, right click, then just move it along to say there to make sure that it's kind of aligned. That's generally looking all right. And then if I come out of that, you'll see there it's not looking too bad. So that completes this part. The next part we're going to get into is, now we've done that, I think it's time to bring in the normals. So in order to do that, we're going to start with the back wall first. So I'm going to go and select that. I'm going to go through to shading. And you can see there at the moment, all we have is the image. So we need the normals to attach there. So I'm going to go Shift and A, search, and then what we want is image texture, like so. I'll just move this up a little bit, and I'll just zoom in a little bit as well. And got that there. And then I'm going to go and open the normal. So I'm going to go find my folder, which I think is there. And this is for the back wall. So you'll find this in the description in the links below. I'll put all the materials in there. I'm going to go and select that and go open image. Now this also needs to be, where it says color space, let me just zoom in a little bit. That needs to be set to non-color. And then from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect up the color to the normal, but we need to put in a normal map to help translate it. So I'm going to go Shift and A and search, and what we want is normal map. I'm going to put that there like so. So you can see there now it's really put like a nice texture on there. You can play around with the strength. Sometimes the best way to look at stuff like this is, let's say we'll go into the rendered view. At the moment we can't see anything because we don't have any lights in there. So also I'm going to turn the world color pretty much black just for greater emphasis. Just click off that a second. I'm going to go Shift and A, and let's bring in a point light. See if we can find it. There it is. Go G, and go and hit the arrow there just to bring that in. And probably what we could do with doing is just increasing the power of that light, because I think at the moment it's set to quite low. So maybe make it a, say, 200. That might be a little bit too much, or it might be just okay. Just change the color of it, maybe make it a little bit reddy yellow. But you can see there now, if I zoom in, you're getting some really nice sort of texture. Now, if I just go and click on the background there, and of course you can affect this a bit more if you want. You can maybe just take the strength down. You can actually use these arrows to get a more sort of subtle effect. And I don't think that's looking too bad, personally. You can mess around with other things as well, like in the materials. Like with the metallic, for example, if you want to kind of have a play around with that, you can do. Even the roughness, you could take that up, not too much. And just for added effect, we can sort of take that light now, go Shift D, and just sort of move it along in intervals, so you kind of get these pockets of light. Do the same on the other side. Something like that. So instead of just blasting it with light, sort of create this, because this is how lights are. Imagine like you've got some lights here, you know, on the wall that you can't see. This is how light behaves. It's not going to blast the entire area. And again, you know, to sort of create that foreboding kind of look, you can maybe even just change some of these colors, maybe a bit more red, or you can, you know, mix some other, you know, just have a bit of an experiment, a bit of a play. Right, so we've covered that. We just need to do the same thing with the floor. So I'm going to do the same thing. So Shift and A and search, and we'll go image texture. Let's go and find our normal, which is there. Go open, and then same as before, let's just make a bit of space and connect that up to there, and then Shift and A and search for normal map, and we'll pop that in there like so. And then hopefully we will see some nice kind of texture going there like so. So go back into the layout view now, and let's just go into the rendered view. And of course, if you wanted to, you could certainly, you know, put some subdivisions in there, play around with some of the tiles, but I think that's looking pretty much all right. And we've got here, that's material 2, this is material 1. Now, the reason I'm identifying these now is when it comes to doing the pipes, which we're going to cover next, we can use this material because it's already got the image and also the normal. So that will be in the next part of the video. So in order to do this next part, what we're going to do is going to use this reference to create our pipes, and then we're going to apply the texture that's on here, if that makes sense. So we're going to model from this, and then put the UVs obviously in place where the you know, where they are for this texture, and hopefully the whole thing will work. So in order to do this, we're going to need to create some new geometry. So I'm going to go Shift and A, and we're going to go mesh, and we're going to go cylinder. Now you can play around if you click on the little box there. At the moment we've got what, 32 vertices. We could mess around with that, make it a little bit less. It probably doesn't need to be as much as that. Maybe make it around about 20, just so we kind of get it looking circular. I think that'll be fine. Let's go back into the material preview. And I'm going to rotate this RY90. There we go. And I'm going to move this along. And just like before, what we're going to do is I'm going to scale this down. And maybe even just zoom in a little bit more. And we're going to sort of center in on these pipes. You can do either of these pipes, it's fine. I'm going to choose these rusty ones though, because they look a bit more decrepit. So something like that. And again, I need to be able to see through this. So what I'm going to do is, obviously, you know, you can put it onto X-ray, of course, but also in the object properties, scroll down to viewport display and change the display from textured to wire. That way we've got a little bit more control. So I'm going to go into the vertex mode there. I'm going to move this all the way to the end. And I'm going to do the same on the other side as well. This is where it's important for you to also have X-ray turned on, because if you just select the vertexes without that turned on, it's just going to do one side. All right, so something like going by the length. Yeah, something like that. And of course, we can scale this down a bit as well. So I do the entire thing, scale that down to say something like that. All right. And we've got these little brackets here that we can put some edge loops in. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. We'll go Control and R and bring that over to there. Put that there. Zoom out again. Control R. Let's try that again. Control R. Move that in place. And then I'm going to put another one here. And then same again with Control R on the other side there. And just to kind of round it off, I could maybe just do another two over here, even though there aren't any. Well, there's one there. Maybe we could put one there and also just do another one there. So let's move that out a little bit. Control R. Move that forward to there. Control R. Let's try that again. As you can see, it's a little bit fiddly. And then same thing again. Let's go Control R. Put that roughly somewhere like that. And we want these to sort of expand out a little bit as well. So you can sort of maneuver some of these just to get them in line. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is highlight the entire section there. And it wants to be E and then S. And then we can use the, excuse me, the scale tool just to bring them in. Same again, E and then S. Then just bring those in. And then do the same on the other side. Go E and then S. Let's try that again. E and then S. Bring that in. E and then S. Then bring that in. Now, in order to kind of get the texture, what we're going to do is I'm going to hit A. I'm just going to scale these down just a wee bit, just so it fits within the texture. To say something like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go project from view. So as you can see that there, or before we do that, sorry, we're going to need to, I'm just going to come out of wire just temporarily, just to show you. So at the moment, we don't have a material attached to it. So remember, I mentioned this, which is, that, which is material 1 or 001. So we're going to apply that to that. So I'm going to go and select that. And from there, go and select the material like so. And now you'll see it's not quite there because we haven't gone project from view. So it'll all make sense in a minute. So if I now go back to that view in the edit and then go U and project from view and then go into UV editing, hopefully this is starting to make sense. You can then take that, hit G, and then move it over to that area. Yeah? Let's see if we can actually see it in real time, what's going on there. So if I now zoom in and move over to, say, there, probably not going to see it right now, but if I go and just scale this up, like so, maybe just scale it down a little bit. Let's scale that up again. Something like that. Again, you can take your time with this. I'm just kind of whizzing through a little bit. So now that's in place with the UVs. By rights now, if we go back into object view, you see we have this nice, lovely If I just go view and say frame selected, it's all looking good. I can just go right click and shade smooth just so it's smoothed it off. And now we've got it textured, yeah? And it's got the normals on there as well. So we don't need to kind of go through a performance of trying to, get it aligned. So now I'm going to go back to the layout, and you can see there now, if I take that and move it over to the side here, could probably even just enlarge it a little bit. I think this is going to be like the larger pipe. So we can sort of take that, say, for example, scale that up. So this could be like a big water pipe or something like that, or a waste pipe. And take that along. And of course, we can sort of continue to sort of develop that. You can either say take that, and we could use the array tool again to to take along side of it, or we could try and extend it. So we could maybe even take, say, the end part, making sure that you've still got your X-ray turned on. And what we can do is we can go E and then X. We can take that along like that. Now this is going to move possibly out of our image, but so far it's kind of looking all right. And then what we could probably do is, because this is where the stairs are, or the steps, we could bend this pipe down. So we can maybe go, okay, so that's where the steps are. We can go E, and then maybe rotate, maybe S to scale it up a little bit. E, R to rotate, E, R to rotate. And then we can take it down. Let's just rotate that a little bit more. E, down to there, maybe not too much. And straighten that up a little bit. And then we could sort of bend it round again. So I'm just having a look at where it is in the steps. So we can move that up a little bit, say to there. And then go to the orthographic view again. And what we can do is go E, Z, then rotate. Maybe just scale that a little bit. E, R to rotate. Maybe just rotate that a little bit more. And then E and X. Oops, let's try that again. E and then X. Maybe just R, just rotate that a little bit. So now we've kind of got the pipe. Now, obviously with this, we'd need to straighten this out. So what we could do is we could go project from view again. So we could select, maybe use the, say, lasso select, just so we can get the bits that we want. So we could kind of go from there all the way around to, say, there. I don't think that's looking too bad. And then we go U, we go project from view. We can go back to our UV editing. And this is a little bit fiddly, but what we could essentially do is take, say, that, and we can move it. Again, I'm just going to do this quite quickly. Over to there, move this down. It's basically just so it sort of straightens it up. And we can actually get like a proper, a texture on the pipe. Again, we'll just go with that. And I might just use that tool again. Press R. Move that down. Move that down. And then move that down. So hopefully, if we go back to our layout view, you can see there, obviously it could do like a bit of tweaking, but That's not looking too shabby. Yeah. And then, of course, if you wanted to, you can add some more pipes and some more wires. We're going to add a grill. I think we're going to add some wires, and then I think we'll close out from there, just add a bit of lighting. If you want to add some characters as well, like at the beginning of the video, you can do. You can simply just import those characters in there and create your little scene. So yeah, so we've got the grill. Again, this will be really simple. So just like with the pipes, if you have a look there, it's just a plane at the end of the day with some loop cuts. So I'm going to go Shift and A, mesh, plane. I'm going to go RX90, move that along, and we can put it in, say, in front of, say, this one. Scale that down. And we can go into the edit mode. And again, like we did before, in the object properties, change it from texture down to wire. And I don't need it on that setting anymore. I'll just go for general selection box. And what we'll do is we'll just move that in place like so. So just get the dimensions. Something like that. And then we can add some subdivisions. So we can kind of go, okay, Control R, move that to the top, say there. So I might just speed this part up. Okay, so that takes care of that. And then what we can do is from there, so you see there, I've got some nice normals on there. In order to create a bit of a sort of recess, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these edges. So I'm going to create like a box. So I'm going to go Control Alt and then just click. Sorry, Control, sorry, Shift and Alt and just select the edges like so. And then in order to create the box, it's going to be E and Y. Let's try that again. E and Y. Something like that. And then if you want to create like a bit of an indent, what we can do is we can go hit 3 for face. Just select all of the squares or rectangles underneath, and then same thing again, E and then Y. So we've got a nice little kind of like shape going on there. And then what we're going to do is just going to put these in place. So we're going to move it over to here. And what we'll do is we'll have, say, one situated say there, for example. And what should we say? We'll have like 3. So I'll go Shift and D, have one, say there, Shift and D again, have one there. And again, if you want to kind of tweak around with other bits, for example, if you wanted to, you could always like, copy this, go Shift and D with the pipe, and maybe have that running. That could be like coming out from the wall, maybe if you wanted to kind of do something like that. Going in. I think at the moment, I think that one's going a little bit too. It needs to be just a little bit more proud away from the wall. But you could do the similar thing here with the other pipe. Could be like sort of staggered. Again, just kind of play around, going through the floor, that kind of thing. And just to close out, we're going to create a Bezier for the wiring. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go Shift and A, and it's curve and Bezier. And you'll see there it produces this curve. If I just kind of bring that up to there and just move it, there we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move it down to the ground level, just so it's kind of above the ground, and move it towards the edge. This is really pretty simple to kind of do. Once you kind of set up there, you can go into the edit mode, and we need to just make an adjustment with this. So in order to do that, we can go into the data, object data properties, and geometry. And then what we want is depth. At the moment, it's just very thin and wiry. So we can just expand that a little bit, maybe make it sort of say yay size, something like that. So imagine it's like cable or something like that. Let's just change the color as well. So I'm going to go new, and we'll make it really basic. We'll make it black, maybe make it quite shiny, give it a bit of gloss, so it's like plastic or plasticky rubber. And it's really simple to do. All we need to do then is just, let's go into the top view, and you can manipulate it by, you can go and hit G and move that out, say. You can also hit these parts, and let's say you go and hit G to kind of create some curves if you want to, like so. But I'm going to go and select the one at the very end, and it's going to stay in orthographic view, and then literally just go E and then just move it out like so. And again, you can manipulate it just by hitting G and kind of moving it around. So I'll do the same thing again. Hit E again. And this is editable. So whatever you're doing, you can kind of go back and give it a little bit more shape if you want. I'm just going to put this in like so, just for the time being. And then if possible, what we'll do is we'll have it kind of running down the stairs. So at the moment, it's just running up to the stairs. I might just extend that out a little bit. And then what we can do is we're going to go E, move that down to say there. Maybe have it going something like that. Move that back a little bit. Maybe we'll have it kind of going to something like that. It's kind of like it's going down the steps. And again, you can take your time with this. But once you've kind of like got the basics of it, you can just kind of run with it. And then I shall just move this in or down a little bit. Let's go E. What we'll do is I'll just try and try to get it clipping too much. Something like that, perhaps. And then we could see, maybe see if we can just bring this up a little bit. And then from there, we can just bring that down and then just go E again, maybe, and just have it sort of trailing off. So again, you know, we can just continue having a bit of a play with that. And obviously you've got to like make sure it's not cutting through the steps. And yeah, basically just have a kind of play with it. Other than that, if we just maybe just bring that down a little bit. To say there. All right. And then, of course, you can add more wires if you want. or even just duplicate it. So if you want to kind of say, okay, this is it, I'm finished, what you can do there is you can select the entire thing, and you should be able to convert then to mesh. And you can still manipulate it, but it's now actually got subdivisions. It will be a mesh, as you can see there. So you can still play around with it, but it gets a little bit trickier. You could say turn on proportional editing. So with proportional editing, you have to, just kind of play around with the influence there. And just obviously be quite careful. So proportional editing, what it does is you can select a part, but then you saw that circle there, it influences all the rest of the vertexes, so you can actually bend it around that way. But again, it could be quite useful for like things like the steps, where we wanted to kind of have a little bit more of it, maybe dripping down, that kind of thing. But again, if you wanted to, you could just sort of take that and just literally duplicate it. So you could take that and kind of go, okay, Shift D, and then maybe move it, maybe like rotate it, get a bit more bang for your buck, so to speak, and manipulate it that way. And if we have a look now in the rendered view, it's not looking too shabby. It's looking all right. And again, just like before at the beginning of the video, you can bring some characters in and stuff like that. The next part of this video I'm going to be doing is bringing in 2D characters that you'll be able to put in there using just a bit of compositing, and that will be in part 2. But hopefully you found this video useful. And if you're watching on YouTube, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I shall see you in the next one, folks. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye for now.